You wake up with that familiar weight pressing against your chest. Not quite panic, not quite dread, just that constant hum of unease that follows you from morning coffee to midnight scrolling. You've tried everything. Meditation apps, breathing exercises, maybe even therapy. But the anxiety remains, like a shadow that moves when you move, breathes when you breathe. What if I told you that your anxiety isn't trying to hurt you? What if it's trying to show you something you've been refusing to see? You've built your entire life around being acceptable. Every morning, you put on a mask so perfectly fitted that sometimes you forget it's there. You smile when you want to scream. You nod when you want to argue. You say, "I'm fine," when you're drowning. And with each performance, that anxious feeling grows stronger. Your anxiety isn't random. It's the alarm system of a soul being suffocated. You feel it most in crowds, don't you? Surrounded by people who know your name, but not your nature. They love the version of you that agrees with everything, never causes problems, never shows the messy parts. But late at night, when the mask comes off, you don't even recognize the face in the mirror. The anxiety spikes because you're living as a stranger to yourself. Every time you betray who you really are for the comfort of others, you create what Jung called a shadow, the parts of yourself you've banished to the basement of your psyche. But shadows don't disappear. They grow in the dark. They bang on the cellar door. That banging? That's your anxiety. You've noticed how it gets worse when you're successful, haven't you? Just when everyone's praising you, when you should feel accomplished, the anxiety hits harder. Because success at being fake is still failure at being real. Your nervous system knows what your conscious mind won't admit. You're winning a game that's killing you. If you're still watching, you're already ahead of most. Most people medicate the messenger instead of reading the message. Think about the last time you felt truly calm. Not distracted, not numbed, actually at peace. You were probably alone, weren't you? Maybe in nature, maybe creating something, maybe just sitting in silence. For a brief moment, you weren't performing. The mask slipped, and instead of disaster, you found relief. But then you went back to the world, back to the performance, and the anxiety returned like a tide. Your anxiety is proportional to the distance between who you are and who you pretend to be. You've created what Jung called a persona, a social mask that gets you through the day. But personas are supposed to be tools, not prisons. Yours has become so elaborate, so essential to your survival, that taking it off feels like death. So you keep it on, even when you're alone, even when it's suffocating you. The truly dark part, you've worn it so long that you've forgotten what your real face looks like. When someone asks what you want, what you really want, your mind goes blank. Not because you don't have desires, but because you've spent so long wanting what you're supposed to want that your authentic desires feel foreign, almost threatening. You know that feeling when you're in a conversation and suddenly you hear yourself talking, but it's like you're floating above, watching a stranger use your voice. That disconnection isn't a glitch. It's your psyche trying to show you something. Jung understood this better than most. He saw how modern life forces us to split ourselves into acceptable pieces and unacceptable pieces. The acceptable parts become your persona, your professional self, your social media self, your family dinner self. The unacceptable parts get shoved into what he called the shadow. But here's what Jung knew that your anxiety is trying to tell you. The shadow doesn't contain your worst parts. It contains your most authentic parts. Your rage, yes, but also your passion. Your selfishness, but also your boundaries. Your darkness, but also your power. Most people never think about this part. They assume anxiety is just fear of the future or trauma from the past. But Jung saw it differently. He recognized anxiety as the psychic tension between opposing forces within you. It's not about what might happen. It's about what's happening right now, inside you, every moment you choose the mask over the truth. You've been taught that integration means becoming more consistent, more stable, more predictable. But Jung's vision was exactly the opposite. He saw that real integration means accepting the contradictions within you. You are both kind and cruel, both generous and selfish, both light and shadow. The anxiety comes from trying to be only one half of what you are. Think about it. Every time you suppress your anger to keep the peace, where does that anger go? Every time you silence your real opinion to maintain harmony, where does that truth go? It goes into the shadow. And the shadow doesn't forget. It remembers every betrayal, every suppression, every moment you chose acceptability over authenticity. The shadow expresses itself in anxiety because that's the only language left when you've silenced everything else. It can't speak directly. You won't let it. So it speaks in rapid heartbeats, in sleepless nights, in that constant feeling that something is wrong, but you can't name what. If you're still watching, you're feeling it right now. That recognition, that uncomfortable truth stirring in your chest. That's not anxiety. That's your shadow saying, finally, someone's listening. Here's what Jung understood that modern psychology often misses. You can't heal anxiety by eliminating it. You heal it by understanding what it's trying to tell you. Your shadow isn't your enemy. It's the parts of you that you've made into an enemy. And enemies kept close become allies. Enemies banished become terrorists. Every time you feel that anxious spike, ask yourself, what am I not allowing myself to feel right now? What truth am I not allowing myself to speak? What part of me am I pretending doesn't exist? The answer won't always be comfortable. The shadow contains things you've hidden for good reason, or what seemed like good reason at the time. But the things you're most afraid to admit about yourself are usually the keys to your freedom. Most people stop here, but you're not most people, or you would have clicked away by now. Jung described the process of individuation, becoming who you really are, not who you're supposed to be. It's not about becoming perfect. It's about becoming whole. And wholeness includes the parts of you that make others uncomfortable, the parts that don't fit neatly into society's boxes, the parts you've been taught to be ashamed of. Your anxiety is the sound of these exiled parts of yourself trying to come home. Every panic attack, every sleepless night, every moment of inexplicable dread, it's your shadow knocking, saying, I'm still here, I'm still part of you, and until you acknowledge me, I'll keep knocking louder. So here you are, at the end of another video about your pain, and you have a choice. You can go back to managing your anxiety, to breathing exercises and positive thinking, and all the other band-aids that never quite stick. Or you can do what Jung suggested. You can turn toward the shadow. Start small. The next time anxiety rises, instead of pushing it away, ask it what it's trying to show you. Which part of yourself have you exiled? Which truth have you been avoiding? Which mask has become too heavy to wear? The path Jung outlined isn't about becoming a different person. It's about becoming all of who you already are. Your anxiety isn't your enemy. It's your psyche's way of saying, we can't keep living this divided life. You know what's really haunting? Most people will watch this, nod in recognition, feel something shift inside them, and then go right back to the performance. They'll put the mask back on tomorrow morning, push the shadow back down, and wonder why the anxiety keeps getting worse. But what if you didn't? What if tomorrow, just once, you let a little truth slip out? What if you said no when you meant no? What if you let someone see a glimpse of who you really are beneath the persona you've perfected? The shadow doesn't need grand gestures. It just needs acknowledgement. It needs to know that you're willing to look at all of yourself, not just the parts that get applause. Your anxiety isn't trying to destroy you. It's trying to save you from a life lived as someone else. The question is, are you finally ready to listen? Who are you when no one's watching? And why does that person terrify you so much? The answer to that question, that's where your healing begins. That's where the anxiety finally starts to quiet. Not because you've conquered it, but because you've understood its message. You were never meant to be half a person. You were meant to be whole. If this message resonated with you, consider subscribing to the channel. I appreciate your support.